Thank you very much for taking your time to begin your day with us here on our Look Up Television. But you're most certainly watching the Morning Drift. And guess what? You can actually be part and parcel of this particular broadcast, which is going to come all the way up to 10 a.m. before we then join the International Handball Federation that we've been giving to you live from the Kasarani complex and Ulinzi grounds as well. But thank you very much. Join us at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I am at Kiage Simba. I will not be alone for the entirety of today because today is Thursday. That means that Brian Amwai is with us right here in the studio. Brian Amwai, good morning, sir.
Hi.
All is good?
You're doing good?
It's gotta be good.
Awesome.
We're
also
breathing.
trying to be okay.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. We're breathing, man.
Yeah, we're also trying to be fine, and just it's a good morning though.
It's a good morning. You gotta say that, man.
Yeah.
At a time when the sun comes out early and settles late. That's the only thing that you gotta talk about it right now, man. Anyway, we're good. We're breathing, and you can actually get to join Amwai at
Amwai Brian,
isn't it?
At Amwai Brian, that is on Twitter.
That's on Twitter.
Yeah, we use Twitter a lot, so Amwai Brian, that is on Twitter.
I already know your handle. Anyway, so here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Today, the only conversation is around how the 13th House has approved the 24 out of the 24 nominees for different positions in President Ruto's government. And today, we do expect that any time at State House, they might be sworn in to swing into action. Am I conversations around how some of them would have not passed that watermark, but it looks as if it was hot air. I've seen majority of Kenyans saying, well, the arguments in Parliament were just hot air.
Well, this is the thing. Earlier, it was during the discussions you actually got to mention it, and people said, well, the people that have been nominated by the president cannot actually be, you know, the Parliament cannot give a no on them. So it is important that you actually, you know, focus on this and say, by the way, these are the names that were nominated by President William Ruto, and they have been given an order to go ahead and actually form cabinet. So his cabinet is actually taking shape. So all those things that we saw during the voting process and even in Parliament, to some extent, it was just a formality. There was no, you know, tangible evidence to actually, or something that you could say was concrete, that these names are not going to be approved at the end of the day, because the committee comes and says we have unanimously said no to this particular name, but now it is upon you, the House, to actually give your voice. You can actually, you know, pass it and say you disagree with our report and all that. And at the end of the day, we have the cabinet nominees that the president had chosen to actually be in cabinet. Yep.
That's exactly how it is. So it's just a formality, and we did see arguments surrounding Malonza. We did see arguments surrounding Jumwa and Mithika Linturi, isn't it?
Yeah.
But some Kenyans were looking into that process to see exactly how those members of the House were going to negotiate this particular area. And you could see, majority of the sides were saying, if so-and-so passes, then so-and-so has got to pass as well. If so-and-so passes, then this one is also got to pass. Now, yes.
This is the thing. Listen, on the issue of Malonza, I from the report and how they were arguing in the House, it was to do with how she presented herself. Yes, she had all the qualification on matters papers, that was good, but did she understand what the docket actually entailed, the kind of work that was awaiting for her? She failed to convince the committee on that particular issue, and that was reason for them to actually say, by the way, we are going to reject your nomination because we don't feel you do understand the docket that you're supposed to be representing.
Which is quite important, isn't it?
It is very important.
It's quite important.
And that is what we were talking about during our discussions here, Simba, because you're talking about do they understand the work that awaits them? Do they understand the docket? Because I believe we did waste a lot of time on focusing on their net worth and not the work that they are going to do as cabinet secretaries.
Yes.
Does she understand that docket? Well, from how she answered questions and from the report that these members of parliament tabled in the House, then she doesn't. And she did not convince them. She did not, articulate herself well and probably present herself well in terms of trying to understand the docket and what awaits her the moment she gets approved. So that is one reason as to why they said no to you. But in terms of papers and all that, it was okay. But does she understand? She did not understand, and I think we'll be getting deeper into that as we look into the paper. Simba.
Interesting as well. And today, the conversations around Kenya are awash with the gazettement of those 24 CSs as well. We're going to talk about that once we come back in the dailies. But guess what? Let's take a tiny breather then before we come back and tell you exactly what it is that you're waking up to this morning in as much as your dailies are concerned. Talk to us at Lookuptv across all of our social media platforms once we come back shortly. Welcome back. This is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. I'm not alone.
Of course, you're with me here, Brian Amwai. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. This is the Morning Drift, and we said you can actually be part of the conversation by engaging us on our socials. That is at Lookuptv, and the hashtag to use is the Morning Drift. We are now looking at the papers. Simba, I have the Daily Nation.
That's how it is, isn't it?
And here it is the Hustler cabinet. After approval of the 22 names that had been nominated by President William Ruto, now his cabinet is actually taking shape. Let me just read that. Now, President William Ruto's new army of 22 cabinet secretaries, Attorney General Justin Muturi and Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjau, approved by Parliament and gazetted yesterday. They are taking over from Uhuru cabinet at a time the new administration is under pressure to deliver on the mandate at the highest level of public service. Now, this story is on page 2, 3, and 4 of the Daily Nation. You can take a look at that. Simple.
Yes. I've got the standards, and they've really decided to pick a couple of headlines that they've really splashed at the front page. Let me just wait. Now, Cabinet awaits swearing in after House approval. You've got to read into that story on pages 4 and 5. We've already spoken about it. And let me just confirm whether this is what we have going on here. Saying the Daily Nation, by the way, this morning as well on Twitter, since we are on it, and we're going to talk about it shortly. They're saying that there might be the swearing in of the cabinet secretaries today as well at the State House, isn't it? But we're going to come back to that and see exactly what that particular headline is talking about. Now, they continue with the reality check for the president. Let me read for you now, kicker. The president, that's President Ruto, rode into office on pledges to lower the cost of living and provide cheap loans to small businesses. But 6 weeks into his tenure, wow, it's been 6 weeks already, the head of state has been forced to review some of the campaign promises as the reality of the country's economic situation hits home. Now, they go on to give you that. Fuel prices are still highest 2 months after elections. Remember, they were talking about bringing back to 100 shillings. Good. Food, it could take up to a year to lower food prices. Cheap credit hustler fund, they say, won't be interest-free. The president kept on talking about interest-free hustler fund. Kazim Tani, Uhuru's project for youth has been stopped. Drought. Kenya is facing its worst in 40 years, and the economy, administration says, inherited a struggling economy. Talk about a proper reality check for the president. By the way, unga is still at 230 shillings, so...
well, we are told we should wait for about a year for that to actually come down.
Wait, Amwai, I gotta take you back though. This not the same people kept on saying that, what it not, and by the way, that's quote unquote. I'm not making this up. This is reality. You can say Simba Kiage said this on air today on Lookuptv, and it's true. Rigathi Gachagua was on quote saying, were it not for Raila Amolo Odinga taking us to the Supreme Court for this petition of these elections, we would have already reduced the prices of maize flour in the country.
Okay,
you had him mad, Amwai. You had him say that.
Yeah,
then why are they now telling us 1 year is what we need?
I think unrealistic promises to some extent that they needed to do that in order to appeal to the Kenyan people, because at that particular time the economy was, is still at a bad place, and people wanted something that was going to give them hope about the future. Are you going to lower the cost of living? Yes, we promised to lower the cost of living within 100 days when we take over, but now we are being told 365 days, which is quite a long time. And this is the thing. I remember when we started and they said, probably the government is broken, or that they need time to do this and that. And I remember asking you, when somebody asks for time, you should ask, how much time do you need? Because when you ask for time, and I had somebody, actually a Kenyan, say, if Ruto wants 1 year, then we should actually give him 2 years. And if you are not, happy with giving the government time, then find a different country to go and live in. That is not the issue here. Like, I digress.
If you're not happy with giving the country time, find another country.
Yeah, this is the thing. I find it, for me, this is a personal opinion, we are moving away from what we campaigned on, because we campaigned on lowering the cost of living. But now, we have started doing different projects and not focusing on the cost of living. We're telling the cost of living, take a break. We will come back to you later. Probably in a year or so time. Right now, what we are doing is focusing on launching projects and all that. And you've seen us, the government, to be precise, moving around the country and just, launching projects and starting housing projects and all that. But this is the thing. When you launch a house, you launch a housing project, and the people that you want to live in that house don't have food today on the table, will they be alive in, 5 years' time to actually live in that particular house? So the most important thing, this is what they campaigned on. Right now, we are going to lower the cost of living. So for me, I think the government should focus on the cost of living. Find solutions for that. As they look for long-lasting solutions, they can actually look, try something like a short-term solution that is going to cushion the people of this country from the pangs of, this high cost of living. Then, at the end of the day, probably we get a long-lasting solution, and in the next 5 years, we start enjoying, not crying anymore.
No, I will tell you, man. I'll tell you this, man. Anyway, but we'll give you that update as well. There's something going on at the State House, even as we speak right now. Gotta give you that as a reality to whatever it is that you're talking about this morning as well. I will tell you though, there is a Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group meeting that is happening at the State House as we speak now, Amwai. And so whatever it is they're talking about is what bills they're going to prioritize so that they could address some of these issues that we are talking about this morning here in terms of the cost of living, the security in the country. We've seen exactly what has happened with the Pakistani journalist that has also put Kenya on the spot. And by the way, I've got that here on the Daily Nation, because Pakistan government has now deployed a team to probe the killing of the journalist that happened 2 days ago right here in the country. So you got to read more into that story on page 8. And then why the thing is, the president has not spoken about it, by the way. Quite silent on that one. Coming at a time when he was talking about disbanding what he called the criminal department in the Department of the Criminal Investigations. So probably then that would then make sense. Now, on pages 26, I got to ask you this, Amwai. What happened to COVID-19?
Well, COVID-19 is still here with us. You're not taking it seriously.
But I've never seen you wear a mask.
I had a mask yesterday. I don't wear a mask.
Yesterday?
Yeah, I did have a mask yesterday. I was feeling... No. I did have a mask yesterday. Let's just end it.
Oh, yeah? Yeah? It was yesterday. Yes. And the day before yesterday?
No, it's not been frequent. We kind of forgot about it.
That's it.
When we went to elections, so did COVID.
Yeah. The people are asking what happened to COVID, and this is what they've been asking this question, Amwai, because China has now unveiled a new oral COVID-19 vaccine. You just have to take it now, like a pill.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. But can I ask you, if you go to the CBD right now, You see those guys who sell SIM cards, yeah? They come in with a tipped message and they have a tent, but they're saying, line here, Safaricom, 10 bob, yeah? Do you know what's happening now with the Ministry of Health?
Yeah.
Because majority of Kenyans have not gone for those vaccines. They're now hawking them in the street like that.
Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah, you've seen that,
It's
isn't
not
it?
even in town. Even just a few meters from here,
Yeah.
like 100 meters from here, you'll get that particular.
Yeah, the
there's a
message,
vehicle
they're getting
there and
broadcast.
doing the message, saying the wait is free and all that. And
Yeah,
it's going to
like
help.
line, yeah, AstraZeneca, yeah, Moderna, you know,
Pfizer and all that.
The thing about that doesn't really settle well with anybody listening to that, knowing just how bad the COVID-19 situation was in the country. I gotta ask you this: Are you vaccinated, Amwai?
I am vaccinated.
Which shot?
I took two shots of Moderna, and I also got a booster shot.
A booster shot, so you're done
I'm good.
completely.
Totally.
I got the single shot. I've not found reason to go for the booster shot. the single shot, the one, what was that? Well, Moderna, yes.
You got Moderna?
Single shot.
Okay.
I've not really found reason to go back for the booster shot. But then that's the question. Majority of Kenya has been asking, what happened to COVID-19? Now, China has developed this vaccine, which they're saying now could be available in your shop. You see the way you buy painkillers? You could go buy a COVID-19 vaccine just like that. It's oral. It's a pill. All right, read that story into pages 26 of the Daily Nation as well. Anything on page 3 that we can look into before we jump into what is trending this morning?
Now, I think this one is very important, still just on matters cabinet, and now how Azimio MPs walked into Kenya Kwanza trap on cabinet approval. Let me just read something from there. Now, it was a political mind, this is a quote, it was a political mind game, but our people in the committee failed to see it. It is the President William Ruto led Kenya Kwanza Alliance used an adverse recommendation against tourism cabinet nominee Penina Malonza as a ruse to deflect attention from the two nominees the opposition wanted blocked on integrity concerns. Now, the subsequent uproar against the attempt to deny Ms. Malonza a cabinet job clouded debate, hence distracting from a minority report authored by opposition lawmakers who wanted the rejection of Aisha Jumwa. Now, this is the thing. So we wanted Aisha Jumwa and Mithika Linturi out. That is according to the minority report.
Yes.
And you can see probably if this headline is anything to go by and just looking at the events that happened yesterday, then it could be true because their attention was drawn from these two and we focused more on, Malonza.
Yeah.
And each side of the political divide was just debating on Malonza. The Kenya Kwanza side was saying, we do not agree with the report. How do you not approve Malonza and all that? And the minority side says, well, the majority said no. So why are you coming here again to start and debating on it? You just apologize to the women of this country, apologize to Malonza, and let's move on with this country. Because you trying to make it a debate and make it sound like it is the minority side that has said no to Malonza, it does not make sense. Those are some of the things that, took center stage yesterday.
Yeah.
And we, as the people of this country, failed to look at the minority report and focus on the two people that the minority report said were not fit to hold office. Yep. So to some extent, if you look at that, this title, something,
isn't it?
They could have been,
But then
they fell into that trap. Yep.
What do we expect? It's not like we expected them to drop the names. I mean, Malonza was completely voted out by the vetting committee. They said she's not fit, isn't it? But then we go back to the House and overturn that. So you wonder, why did we have this committee? Then we should have taken these names to Parliament directly so they can debate on them.
Something interesting when you're looking at them debate in the House, they were saying, okay, we did look at Malonza. She is qualified in so many ways, but the only problem was, and the same people that were in that committee, I remember the minority whip and probably the majority leader, you see, trying to, the majority whip and also the majority leader trying to, convince the members of the House that Malonza is not a bad person. She's qualified. You can actually go ahead and approve her. It's just that this is our report and something like that.
Interesting, isn't it? Anyway, just right now, Amwai, let's just take a tiny breather. I know there's one trend that I want us to look at this morning. It's actually State House. We do have 4 minutes to do that. Let's take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be telling you how Liverpool is dead in the league, but then again, slashing teams in the Champions League once we come back right here on The Morning Drift. Welcome back. My name is Simba Kiage. This is the morning drift. Got 4 minutes before we look at what we have in the newsroom. So this morning, I want us to start with State House. There is a trend, Amwai, that majority of Kenyans are picking this morning, and I will tell you why. Any minute from now, or today, or any time before we end this week, we do expect that the new cabinet secretaries are going to be sworn in at State House Nairobi from 11 a.m. anytime, isn't it? Okay. I've got Oliver Madenge on Twitter saying new cabinet secretaries to be sworn in State House at State House Nairobi from 11 a.m. Got a picture of State House. I don't know whether he's got the live pictures on the ground in any way. Now, listen, this is James Smart. You don't know him?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I don't know whether we should read it, but we're going to read it. Okay. They're saying Aisha Jumwa failed to attend her murder trial today, that's this morning, isn't it? ODPP instead told her that she said her and other nominees had been ordered to stay near State House for a possible swearing in today. Amwai, it starts there and start. Where? I mean, what can you say? Si boss alisema tusikuje.
Yeah. So tumepata appointment ingine na lazima tukue sworn in leo. So tukikosa kuenda itakuwa mbaya.
But what if this case ends up convicting her?
Do you think it's going to do that?
Amwai, we're gonna put it out. I mean, it's going on. Do you think, Amwai, we need to go back to chapter 6 and read it to the president?
Do what exactly?
We go back to chapter 6 of the Kenyan Constitution on integrity and read it to the president.
No, we don't need to do that. I think
why not?
People do understand what chapter 6 says. It's just they choose not to follow chapter 6.
Okay, do we need to go and empower chapter 6? Because it looks like it exists, but then it's not empowered.
No, okay, to some extent we could do that. But since we are a nation that likes to do the opposite, what we could do is actually try to do away with chapter 6 and just let people do it.
Yeah.
Because integrity in this country it's not even second on the list.
Are you sure?
Yeah. So
I mean, look at that particular situation.
There's no point, because there's a few people who would like to follow chapter 6, but we will always clamor about chapter 6, chapter 6, chapter 6. But nothing happens about chapter 6. Nobody's taking chapter 6 seriously. I'm telling you, man. Now, listen to one of the responses here that I've got from James. His name is Fosori. Wow. All right. He's saying it's nice to be in power. Small things like murdering people is a non-issue, and courts are there to waste your time. That's what it looks like, isn't it? Yeah, looks like it. Yeah. Then, no, I won't read that. I won't read that. Someone is saying I know a guy who banned the whole church. Anyway, listen. Here's the thing. We got 1 minute to go on this one. Now, let me tell you, let me give you the scoreline from yesterday. The score lines from yesterday. Here's the thing. Juventus is officially back in the Europa League, and we're happy as Arsenal fans because Locatelli and Vlahovic didn't want to join Arsenal because Arsenal was not going to play in the Champions League this season. We did know that. Now they're back playing with us every Thursday. Welcome, Juventus. And I wish we play against you and we beat you. Anyway, Liverpool performing dismally in the Premier League. But if you look at how they're beating teams in the Champions League, they're already top of Group A. Yesterday, they scored 3 goals against Ajax, and Mo Salah was on the score sheet. We did have Nunes was on the score sheet as well, and Elliott as well was on the score sheet. So, on that note, congratulations to you, James, and the rest of the few Liverpool fans that we have in this country. You guys are like 10 in the whole of Kenya. Anyway, again, Barcelona is again back to the Europa League as well. Welcome to Thursday night football. The most amazing thing about it is that they failed to register a shot on target for an entire 90+ minutes. Money, the new, I would say the Liverpool import or export into Bayern Munich. It's called the first one at the 10th minute, and then they got beliterated by Bayern Munich. 3-0 ended. Bayern is officially into the last 16. Those are the news from yesterday. So for the rest of the 10 of the Liverpool fans across the country, congratulations. Hopefully you win the Champions League because the season you've been bad in the league. Am I? Yeah.
I told you, by the end of our time here at the Morning Drift, you'll be supporting Arsenal. As it is. As it is. Anyway, let's take a tiny breather again right here on the Morning Drift. Once we come back, we'll be taking you straight to the newsroom so we can see some of the stories that we are headlining. How much you got to support Arsenal though?
We'll talk about that later. I'm open.
You're open? Yeah. I know James is going to come in and start convincing you to support Liverpool, but they're currently positioned at 8th. You got to support the winners. Support Arsenal. We're the leaders, and we're going to be for a very long time. Anyway, once we come back.
Get a chance to wake up as a tourist as you view Mount Kenya every day by buying a plot of land at Wema Gardens, Naru Moru. At only 400 meters off tarmac, this is the right place to build your dream home, cottages or holiday homes. You can also buy this property to give to your children as a special inheritance. Water and electricity are in the vicinity, while neighbors are already building their homes. These plots are specially ready for you with title deeds scheduled to be out in 6 months. Buy a 50 by 100 plot of land at Wema Gardens for only 399,000 Kenya shillings. You can also pay for your plot through our friendly 1-year installments plan.
We're inspiring possibility.
For all your football, F1 and World Cup kits, Carrington Sportswear Hub is your plug for quality sporty merchandise. Call us on 0703 484 481.
The International Handball Federation brings you great sporting action that's full of pomp, color, energy, tackle, and thrill. The IHF Trophy Africa Zone 5 Youth and Junior Men Games. 8 countries, 16 teams, 36 games. All these sporting action to be held at the Ulinzi Sports Complex and at the Nyayo National Stadium Handball Courts in Nairobi, Kenya. Games start at 12 noon till late, as from Tuesday the 25th to Saturday the 29th. Entry is free. Only carry your identification document. This action is proudly brought to you by the International Handball Federation in conjunction with the Kenya Handball Federation in partnership with Lookuptv and Muthingi TV.
Welcome back. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for being a part and parcel of our broadcast this morning. This is the Morning Drift. You can actually get to join us live at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Let's cross over then to the newsroom and see some of the headlines that you are waking up to this morning. Now, the National Assembly has approved the 22 cabinet secretary nominees as proposed by President William Ruto after they were vetted by the Assembly's Special Committee last week. Former House Speaker Justin Muturi was also approved as the Attorney General. Ian K. The following report.
President William Ruto's first cabinet is one step away from being complete after his 22 nominees were approved by the National Assembly. Despite allegations of corruption from members of the minority side against some of the nominees, the National Assembly approved all the names with Speaker Moses Wetangula announcing the chamber's decision by popular vote.
This House, 1, approves the appointment of the following persons as cabinet secretaries. The Honorable Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi, EGH, Office of the Prime Cabinet Minister. the Honorable Professor Kithure Kindiki EGH, Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Interior and National Administration.
The names will be forwarded to President William Ruto for swearing in before formally taking up duty at different ministries in a bid to implement President Ruto's manifesto and signaling the beginning of their tenure as cabinet secretaries.
Will as many of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say no? Yes. The ayes have it.
Attorney General nominee Justin Muturi and the Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjau were also approved to take up their roles after being sworn in.
The next is to call upon you on that the House approves the appointment of the Honorable Justin Bedan Njoka Muturi EGH as the Attorney General. Will as many of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
After the approval, Garissa Township Member of Parliament Aden Barre Dwale and his Kandara counterpart Ali Soome resigned to take up their roles in cabinet.
I'll hand over my resignation letter so that you can send the writs to IEBC.
I'm truly grateful to the people of Kandara constituency for finding it fit to give me 3 terms, which then the 3rd term, Mr. Speaker, I may have to surrender or I will be surrendering back for purposes of by-election.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Assembly approved the nomination of Penina Malonza as the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. The House shot down recommendations by the Parliamentary Select Committee on appointments that had unanimously rejected her nomination on grounds she did not fully understand the parameters of the ministry. Her name, alongside that of 22 other nominees, has been forwarded to President William Ruto for formal appointment.
Minister for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage, the Honorable Penina Malonza.
When President William Ruto nominated Penina Malonza as Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Tourism, her name gained national attention. She had been nominated to replace one of the longest-serving Cabinet Secretaries in the ministry, Najib Balala. She was also looking at the history as the first Cabinet Secretary to be picked from Kitui South constituency since independence. Just who is Penina Malonza? Penina Malonza was born in Kibweya, Mutomo, Kitui County. She started her education at Itombo Primary before joining Igudha Girls High School. She then proceeded to the University of Nairobi, where she pursued a degree in anthropology. She also attained a diploma in counseling psychology before pursuing masters in project management and planning and public health. Malonza has a stellar career. She has served as AMREF program manager on health program in Kibera slums. She has also served as the program director at Changamwe Baptist Church. Malonza has worked with Compassion International as program manager. She later served as deputy governor, Kitui County. When she appeared before the Parliamentary Select Committee for vetting chaired by the National Assembly Speaker, Moses Wetangula, Penina Malonza had a hard time fielding questions from the panel, her performance seemingly not boding well with majority members.
Sorry. When you talk, I do the listening.
Sorry.
I would want you to focus on the questions that have been asked to you. You spent the last almost 20 minutes dancing around 2 questions.
After the interviews, the Select Committee had reached a unanimous decision, a decision that Penina Malonza is not fit to lead the crucial Ministry of Tourism. This decision, however, received strong objection when the report was tabled on the floor of the House.
And I think Penina Malonza should not be left to the lynch mob. I want to say we should include her in the list of these cabinet secretaries who have been passed.
Huyu mwanamke maskini anapewa lawama eti kwamba hakuweza kuongea. Mheshimiwa Spika, si mara ya kwanza wanawake kulaumiwa. Hata katika shamba la Edeni, Adam ambaye alitangulia hilo shamba alilaumu Hawa kwamba ndiye alimfanya kukosa. Lakini yeye mwenyewe ndiye alitangulia hapo. Yeye mwenyewe ndiye angesema ile tunda lisiliwe, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hivyo binti huyu Malonza, mimi naona kwamba wataka tu kumfanya kafara bure. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, iwapo ni kupita, basi sharti huyu binti pia apitishwe.
Members of the assembly are mounting strong defense of her nomination that later saw her nomination sail through the House.
This House approves the appointment of the Honorable Penina Malonza OGW as the Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Penina will surely breathe a sigh of relief. Her name will be forwarded to President William Ruto for formal appointment. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Moving on, the Red Cross organization has distributed animal food in Garissa County. With there being many livestock deaths have been witnessed, the Red Cross has donated 9,000 bags of animal food aid to Garissa. The sub-counties set to benefit from this distribution, Dadaab, Fafi, Balambala, Ijara and Ladera, which are recorded to be the most affected.
Following the extreme drought in the country, it is alleged that about 2.4 million livestock have died between months of July and September. Livestock keepers in Garissa County have received relief animal feed after the Red Cross donated 9,000 bags of animal food.
9,000 bags times 50 kilograms of animal feeds, which will go to our farmers in 5 sub-counties.
Garissa County Commissioner Boaz Cherutich has so far encouraged business persons to cooperate and make animal feed easily accessible. The sale is geared towards improving the health of the weakened animals. Boaz also asked for cooperation between pastoralist communities to avoid cattle rustling.
Other regions, we expect some kind of some conflicts because of the movement of those animals, and therefore we are going to strengthen these committees in those regions so that they are available and ready to engage with those neighboring communities so that issues can be addressed before it escalates.
The residents of Kajiado County, one of the severely famine-affected counties, have received relief after various donors distributed aid food to 850 families. The residents are increasingly complaining of the panging hunger, especially on their children who are affected to a point of failing in continuing with their studies.
In all the 26 years I've been in Kenya, where there's so much the drought is just extreme here right now, and we are very grateful for all the donors who have partnered with us to be able to not only bring food for the people but as well as hay.
Ukweli vichwa tunapasuka, ni kubaya, watoto wetu wanalala njaa, ukienda kwa jirani njaa anayelia ndivyo unalia.
While the government and different organizations are increasingly coming up with methods to mitigate the hunger that is witnessed in the country, Mbere area farmers in Embu County have received Gadam sorghum seeds. Through the collaboration between the county government and the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, these farmers will be able to plant on time, and more, these Gadam seeds are drought resistant.
Na tumeweza kuwapatia mbegu ambayo inaitwa Gadam ama variety ya sorghum ambayo inaitwa Gadam. Tunahimiza wakulima walime vizuri ndio waweze kuinua hali yao ya kifedha, their livelihoods. Na pia hii Gadam ni chakula. Kwa hivyo maneno ya food security huwa tunahimiza sana, kwa sababu sana tunasema after before wauze mtu aweze kukula ndio aweze kutosheka, alafu ile inabaki auze.
Kuzuia kupewa mbegu ya mkama, maana hii mbegu ni kitu kizuri, tutakuwa tunauza, tunapata pesa.
Mudheu Ndalana, Lookuptv.
Now, President Ruto on Wednesday hosted a Spanish president Pedro Sanchez, who is on a two-day visit in the country. The two heads of state held talks on matters climate change, tourism, agriculture, water management and renewable energy. The two also reaffirmed their commitment on a stronger ties between the two countries. Sanchez is the first Spanish head of state to visit Kenya in 60 years.
The renewal of the current financial protocol, Your Excellency, to be addressed by the two countries will add new funds to the kitty and facilitate the implementation of Kenya's priority projects by Spanish companies. And I have clearly stated, Your Excellency, that Kenya is open for business. We have created a bigger private-public sector engagement enterprise that will work between the public sector in Kenya, the private sector in Kenya, and also your private sector to leverage on opportunities that can help our two countries grow. We have tremendous opportunity in the areas of the blue economy, where we know Spain has a lot of experience. We will open those opportunities for our private sector, your private sector, and the public sector is going to play a facilitative role in ensuring that we tap into these opportunities for both economic development, creation of jobs, and adding value to the enormous resources that we have in our oceans and in our rivers. We are looking forward to learning experiences from Spain and the European Union. You have walked this journey ahead of us, and we will look forward to learning from you how to consolidate our market and how to take it to the level of a federation. Because we are very strong believers that the future is that of cooperation, working together and building a common market, not just as the East Africa community, but also as the continent of Africa, using the infrastructure of Africa Continental Free Trade Area, that Kenya is a signatory. And again, Spain can leverage on the advantage you get out of Kenya being the champion, not just for the East Africa community, but the Africa Continental Free Trade Area.
The court has ruled in favor of the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service that can now carry on with investigating the 4 officers from the disbanded Special Service Unit of the Director of Criminal Investigations. The 4 had challenged the IAU's investigation into their conduct. Senior Magistrate Diana Muchache ruled out that the suspects will remain in court until the investigations are complete. Shadrach Kareria reports.
The 4 police officers from the defunct Special Service Unit of the Directorate of Criminal Investigation appeared in the court for the second time on Wednesday. In a ruling, the Senior Magistrate Diana Muchache quashed their application by the defense lawyers representing the 4 accused, pleading with the court to only allow the Director of Public Prosecution or the IPOA to conduct the investigation. Magistrate Muchache ruling that the Internal Affairs Unit can proceed with the investigation.
The respondents have submitted that the IAU cannot investigate the offense of abduction. I do not agree. The unit can investigate, but upon completion, they must hand over the outcome to the IG or the DPP. To my understanding, the application before court is meant to facilitate the investigations and cannot be said to be an abuse of the court process.
The ruling that was highly opposed by the suspect's lawyers. The court also ruled that with the court orders, the IAU can use the suspect's mobile phones and their DNA to assist the investigations.
Should the applicant dare exploit the phones of the respondents without a court order or subject them to DNA without a court order, that would be a violation of the respondents' rights, and whatever evidence is obtained would be inadmissible.
Suspect lawyers opposing the ruling, asking the court to give them time to file their response. The lawyers have stated that the ruling by the court to allow the IAU to use suspect DNA is a violation of suspect's rights.
Our clients have sought time to respond to the application that was filed. Reasons being that among the orders being sought is their DNA, which is a serious affront on the right to privacy and the constitutional right for somebody to be dealt with in form of dignity. So we have raised that.
The 4 police lawyers have stated that they'll be heading to the High Court to appeal the court's decision.
We are not satisfied with that decision, and we have sought leave to appeal, and we shall be moving to the court, to the High Court, by close of business today, once we get the certified copy of the ruling, because this is not the proper interpretation of the law.
The 4 were arrested in connection of the disappearance of the 2 Indian nationals and their drivers.
The respondent side have stated that they will be moving to the High Court to challenge the ruling, stating that it does not satisfy them. Reporting for Lookuptv from Kahawa Law Courts in Nairobi County, my name is Shadrach Kareria.
Cadbury Kenya Limited has distributed books to Langata Road Primary School as part of its mobile library drive, which will see 4,000 books distributed to 25 schools in Nairobi in a campaign dubbed, in our own words, to ignite a reading culture of books that are culturally relevant to children and to promote a reading culture among the children. Then John Mukora reports.
Despite Africa being known as the continent of storytellers, only 2% of the books are published in African languages. It's on this backdrop that Mondelez International, the parent company of Cadbury Kenya Limited, has continued with its mobile library drive dubbed Homegrown Stories in Our Own Words.
Have you had lunch? Are you to join me as we dance kidogo?
Speaking during the handover ceremony at Langata Road Primary School, Mondelez International marketing lead Langa Kanyire said the drive is meant to represent the African child realities in the books they are exposed to, and was prompted by a research by the company that indicated that African parents struggle to find content that is reflective of their children's realities.
Now we know that a love for reading starts when you can see yourself in the stories that you are reading, right? So if you are reading stories that have nothing to do with where you live, have nothing to do with the environment or the context that you see every day, your love for reading does not grow. So we called on Kenyans to help us create these stories because they don't exist.
While acknowledging the importance of such drives in building a reading culture, Langata Road Primary School health teacher Marisa Aseka indicated the need for books to be based on the African experience so that the education system churns out learners with an idea of the social challenges to solve in the community.
Watoto wengi wanazoea kukaa tu na kuangalia kitu ambacho hakichokeshi. Wanaona kusoma ni kuchokesha. Lakini wakiona vitabu hivyo mmewapatia, watachukua muda wa kuandika, na wengine watavutiwa na itawapa motisha kuandika, kwa sababu watakapoandika na wapate hizo zawadi, walimu watawatia moyo ili waandike, na wakiandika na pengine some of their stories pelekwe mbele, watoto wengi watakuwa na hiyo hamu ya kutaka kuandika na hata kusoma.
Cadbury has announced a call for submission for stories for the second phase of the campaign that will see the addition of another 30 books to the library, both in digital and hard copy formats. Edwin John Mukora, Look Business.
Kenya continued with their superb performance in the ongoing international handball competition in Ulinzi Sports Complex and Nyayo Stadium. In the under-20 category, Kenya beat Southern Sudan 49-11 to win their first match. While in the under-18, Kenya secured the second victory after smashing Southern Sudan 59 to emerge victors. 2018 finalists Uganda emerged winners on a whisker of 38-37. Kenya takes on Uganda today.
Wanaonaje mechi haya hadi wa sasa? Kenya 35 Uganda 35.
Sudan Kusini 11, ama ukipenda basi wale weledi wa lugha akina Nancy na elimu wanasema 11, ama ukipenda ama ni aje mwelekelezi wangu pale studio 11, na hapo ni 35 Kenya leading with 35 points. Mtangazaji na mimi Robert Chacha. Haya, twende kazi. Haya, wanagusa wa Kenya, wanagusa, inatoka nje. Haya, dakika 20 hivi kipindi cha pili kikamilike. Itakuwa imebaki dakika 20 hivi. Gusa 36 hiyo. 36 Kenya 36.
Captain Kenya. Mechi imekuwa mzuri tulipoanza. Tunashukuru Mungu kwa ametupa ushindi kwa wazima, ametuondolea majeraha. Tumeweza kujituma kama wachezaji. Tunashukuru kwa ushindi yenye tumepata. Yeah.
Kwanza tunashukuru Mola na vijana wetu pia wamejituma na tukarekebisha makosa zile tulifanya jana. So ukiangalia kwa goalkeeper hatujafungwa mabao mengi kwa sababu defense imekuwa juu kushinda jana. Zile makosa tulifanya jana tumepunguza, makosa zimekuwepo lakini si mingi kama jana. Mechi inayokuja saizi ni kila kitu, hakuna mechi nyingine. Kila mechi tunacheza kama finali. Hii si kama friendly sasa mali imefika, kwa sababu baada ya kushindwa jana kila kitu tunapeana, kila kitu kwa wachezaji na makocha.
Now remember that competition is live on Lookuptv. By the way, it starts at 10, so we're just 8 minutes away from giving you the live pictures there from the Ulinzi Complex and Nyayo. Right here on Lookuptv. Ulinzi Complex, isn't it? And Nyayo. That's it. Anyway, exclusive to Lookuptv. That's the International Handball Federation. Good. Now, let's cross over then to the Champions League, where Chelsea topped in Group E with 11 points after thrashing Red Bull Salzburg 2-1. On other matches, Leipzig defeated reigning champions Real Madrid 3-2. The UEFA Champions continues
made a near post run
tonight with the actually did continue. So let me give you that particular result. Liverpool played Ajax. Liverpool scored 3 goals. Ajax